Messages of solidarity and support as President Biden makes a surprise visit to Ukraine ahead of the first anniversary of Russia's invasion.
The EU's top diplomat Josep Borrell says China has confirmed that Beijing will not supply arms to Russia.
As Turkey winds down rescue operations, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledges $100 million 2 weeks after the devastating earthquake.
Several thousand supporters of a pro-Russia party marched in Moldova on Sunday, demanding help with the cost of living crisis. A potent gesture of US solidarity days ahead of the anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Joe Biden, standing shoulder to shoulder with Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv, sends a powerful message to the Kremlin as Russia steps up attacks along the front line. Both leaders stressed the unity of the West had not been broken.
Ця неспровокована і злочинна російська війна проти України, всієї Європи та демократичного світу має завершитись очищенням всієї української землі від окупації Росії та твердими гарантіями довготривалої безпеки, як нашої держави, так і усієї Європи і всього світу.
Putin thought Ukraine was weak and the West was divided. As you know, Mr. President, I said to you in the beginning, he's counting on us not sticking together. He was counting on the inability to keep NATO united. He was counting on us not to be able to bring in others on the side of Ukraine. He thought he could outlast us. I don't think he's thinking that right now.
Biden paid tribute to the courage and resilience of Ukrainian soldiers and citizens. He also announced a further aid package to Ukraine worth around €500 million.
Supporting its allies.
Discussions continue at Munich Security Conference on whether there's a path to peace in Ukraine. While Europe's leaders committed to investing more in weapons, the president and founder of Eurasia Group warned that the West cannot afford to assume that the Russians are incapable of doing anything to NATO simply because they haven't done so yet. Euronews has talked to him.
I look at Ukraine and I see a war that Ukraine could lose. I think we have to admit that to ourselves. I hope they don't. But in reality, they may not be able to displace Russia from a lot of the territory that they're presently occupying.
We should prepare for anything, but I hope we receive the weapons as quick as we can, so it can help to win quickly.
As we approach the first anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, no one seems to see a clear way out. China's top diplomat Wang Yi also committed to peace in the Ukraine conflict, but on Beijing's terms, as he warned against international interference on the issue of Taiwan.
EU military support for Ukraine tops the agenda as the bloc's foreign ministers meet in Brussels. Some countries are pushing for a joint procurement initiative. Meanwhile, the EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, said he has been reassured by Chinese diplomat Wang Yi that Beijing would not supply arms to Russia.
I had a conversation with him and I expressed our strong concern about China providing arms to Russia and asking him not to do that and expressing not only our concern but the fact that for us it would be a red line in our relationship. He told me that they are not going to do it, that they don't plan to do it, but we will remain vigilant.
Borrell met Wang at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend. The US has said China is preparing to provide weapons to Moscow, but Beijing's foreign ministry has since rejected the claim.
Russian forces are likely under increasing political pressure as the anniversary of the full-scale invasion draws near. It is likely that Russia will claim that Bakhmut has been captured to align with the anniversary, regardless of the reality on the ground, says the UK Defence Ministry. Now, Russia continues to pursue several offensive axes in eastern Ukraine, specifically in the areas of Vuhledar, Bakhmut and Kreminna. But the Institute for the Study of War adds the pattern of Russian deployments in the other parts of the theater strongly suggests that most of the available maneuver elements of the other military districts and the airborne forces are already committed and thus do not constitute a large reserve that Moscow could suddenly hurl into the fray in Luhansk region or elsewhere. Now, the major phase of Russian offensive operations in Luhansk region is underway, and Russia likely lacks sufficient uncommitted reserves to dramatically increase the scale or intensity of the offensive this winter. Now, based on an assessment of Russian forces already committed to active operations compared with Russia's overall ground forces order of battle, the Institute for the Study of War forecasts the unlikelihood of significantly increased Russian offensive operations this winter. Russian forces likely secured marginal gains in the northern suburbs of Bakhmut and in the eastern outskirts of the city. Russian mill bloggers claim that degraded Wagner Group formations are narrowing the scope of their offensives in the Bakhmut area due to a lack of forces. Now, the UK Defence Ministry adds casualties reportedly remain high, particularly in Bakhmut and Vuhledar. Specifically, the elite naval infantry brigades have sustained very high losses in Vuhledar and are likely combat ineffective. Now, if Russia's spring offensive fails to achieve anything, then tensions within the Russian leadership will likely increase.
Several thousand protesters rallied in Moldova's capital on Sunday amid a cost of living crisis and skyrocketing inflation. The call was for the country's new pro-Western government to cover citizens' winter heating bills. The protest was organised by a recently formed group, Movement for the People, and supported by members of Moldova's Russia-friendly Shore Party, which holds 6 seats in the former Soviet Republic's 101-seat legislature. Some of the demonstrators called for the country's president, Maia Sandu, to stand down. Others held placards with the faces of some of Moldova's leaders and politicians placed next to photographs of large homes and fancy cars.
Sate, fără de zarplată, fără de lucru, fără de nic, cum să trăim noi mai departe? Șorțanele se ridică, cu și noi, suntem vopșe, puteți da, suntem bomși.
Mai mult pentru pensii, să ne ajungă și nouă, ne-au spus că ne mărește, și ne mărește.
A week ago, President Sandu outlined what she claimed was an alleged plot by Moscow to overthrow the government in order to put the nation at the disposal of Russia and to derail it from its course to one day join the European Union. Russia strongly denies her claims.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has announced $100 million in fresh humanitarian aid to the victims of last week's earthquakes. Washington's top diplomat arrived for his first visit to Turkey on Sunday and met his Turkish counterpart, Mevlut Cavusoglu. They later viewed the damage brought by the disaster in the Hatay province from a helicopter.
I just had a chance to fly over Hatay to see some of the devastation. And it's really hard to put it into words. You see buildings still standing and then buildings collapse, roofs destroyed. And right next to it, something that's still standing.
Blinken is in Turkey for talks meant to focus on NATO expansion and other thorny issues, but the devastating earthquake has clouded the visit. The 7.8 magnitude quakes, which hit Turkey and northern Syria on February 6th, have killed more than 45,000 people. The likelihood of finding survivors 2 weeks on, extremely unlikely. No survivors have been found in at least 24 hours. In Syria, the devastation brought by the quakes has been compounded by the delay in humanitarian aid. Syria's civil defence, also known as the White Helmets, has been at the forefront of digging through rubble, but their rescue efforts have now turned into clean-up operations. Nuclear tension soars on the Korean peninsula after the launch of 2 new missiles by North Korea. According to North Korea's state broadcaster, The missiles can be used in a tactical nuclear attack that could completely destroy enemy air bases. It is the second launch carried out by the North Korean regime since Saturday, and according to Pyongyang, it is in retaliation to the joint military maneuvers being carried out by South Korea and the United States. Seoul and Tokyo have voiced their anger over what happened. The Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has called for an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council. Secretary General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned the North Korean regime's launch and called on Pyongyang to immediately desist from taking any further provocative actions.
Heavy rain in northern Romania has caused flooding and landslides, damaging many roads. Among the worst hit stretches of road is between Rodna and Magura Ilve. It's only 2 years since this section was rebuilt with €2 million worth of European funds. And motorists aren't the only one inconvenienced. Some rail services are also disrupted. Rivers have also burst their banks, flooding homes and farmland.
German-language film All Quiet on the Western Front has dominated the British Academy Film Awards. The anti-war drama took a record-breaking 7 awards, including Best Film and Best Director. Meanwhile, Cate Blanchett was named Best Actress for her role in Tar, in which she plays a renowned orchestra conductor whose career unravels when she's accused of abuse. The BAFTAs are widely seen as predictive of the Oscars, which take place next month in Hollywood.